Welcome to Coach Magic, the show for the woman who is all in on creating a life, business, and family that's beyond her wildest dreams. I'm Jenny Fennig, and I am so excited to help you get confident, focused, and paid. Let's rewrite the rules and get moving in the direction of your deepest desires. Ready, set, go. Excited to welcome you here to Coach Magic. We have an incredible conversation for you today. We also have an accompaniment on the piano, courtesy of my daughter, Kate. You might hear Mary Had a Little Lamb being played. My daughter is practicing in preparation for her piano lesson later today. Those of you who have, kids at home, maybe some of you have kids learning at home, you understand what's happening right now. Okay, so here we go, Coach Magic, friends. We have Jennifer Goodman with us today. Let me tell you about Jennifer. We're going to be focusing on this idea of being who you are. Now, those might be easy words to say, but for a lot of us, they're not very easy to do or actually be. And Jennifer has a lot of insight to be able to offer us today about how to do that. Here's who she is. And she has an illustrious background. She's a transformative counselor who promotes living authentically. She weaves together traditional and holistic therapeutic approaches with life coaching and parent coaching, serving anyone who wants to figure out why they came here to do, what they came here to do, and how to transform whatever's in the way of that. Her background includes soul types transformation, social inclusion and mediation, therapeutic arts, biographical counseling, meditation, and Eastern philosophy, and a connection with Rudolf Steiner's work in the Waldorf world, which I know a lot about because my kids all came through the Waldorf Early Childhood Program. She is a certified Waldorf Collaborative Counselor, a simplicity parenting coach, a social inclusion coach, and soon to be a Magic Maker certified coach. And in addition to discussing today why she chose to add intuitive coaching skills to her already robust toolkit, she's going to talk to us about being who we are, encouraging you to be who you are. She has a lot of insights. And I'm so excited to just dive in with you today. Jennifer, thanks for coming here on Coach Magic.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, totally. We're going to have such a powerful conversation. And anyone who might be tuning in over here on the socials, make sure you comment with any questions or just letting us know that you're tuning in. We like to know who we're talking to. Okay, Jennifer. So you've done a lot. You have a really, really powerful background. Let's go back and really look at how did you know what kind of career you were going to pursue? How did this all line up for you all those years ago?
Yeah, so that really does take me back. And my first career was in finance and software development, so completely different. I, got out of college with a degree in philosophy and just got practical. And I did that for about 10 years and just felt like I really needed to do something that was more aligned. And it just wasn't me. So the first step was sort of like saying no to that and not really knowing what I was going to do next. I had my daughter at that point, took maybe 2 years off. And then I got drawn in the Waldorf school to joining the social inclusion, the small team that we were forming at the school to really create a social inclusion and a healthy social environment at the Waldorf school. Mm-hmm. And with that came Kim John Payne, who has been my longtime teacher and mentor. He created Simplicity Parenting, which is like a whole movement now, and really brilliant guy who took these anthroposophical concepts, which are like Rudolf Steiner's thinking and about children and how to work with developmental psychology. And he really brought it down to a tangible, kind of understandable form for people. And so I started out doing the social inclusion program, which I loved and got really involved in that. And then Kim Payne was starting a program at Antioch University in collaborative counseling. And At the time, I was a parent of a 4-year-old, I think a 4 or 5-year-old, a single parent, and I didn't have a lot of time or money. I was teaching dance classes to children. I was teaching preschool at the Waldorf school. I think I had another job. Like, it was just a really busy time in my life. And so when he presented the opportunity for this program, I thought, no, this, I can't do it. But there was something about it. I remember I had the brochure for it, and it kind of moved around my house and I couldn't throw it out. And I kept picking it up. Like, I remember it was on my nightstand for a while, and it just had this like magnetic gravity to it. And I don't know, I just felt like it was, as you say, the next right step. Like, it was super clear. So, I ended up doing that. That was a 3-year program, and it was amazing. It really like just opened me up to, honestly, some of the best teachers in the world. I'm still so grateful for that that program and that training. And I came through that, and I ended up getting certified as you said, simplicity parenting coach. And I've done a lot of work around discipline and family life coaching, working with families specifically. And then I went back and got my master's in developmental, well, it was like a master's in education and developmental psychology. Mm-hmm. And really since then, and all the way through, I've been leading groups and parent workshops and doing one-on-ones, and I love all of that. When I saw your program, this is kind of like just jumping through, I really wanted to start to work more directly with adults, because out of my work with parents, I had seen this ability to transform the past and then step powerfully into the future. And I feel like that's a missing piece, because, in a lot of what we can access out there, because there are therapists that you can see to kind of work through your past. And then there are people who will help you, like, just, support you to take that step and to really meet your goals. And what I loved about, all the training that I had was that it gave me this like way to work. And this is through my work with parents, to like really step back into the past and to experience the golden moments, which create this big vision for our lives. And then also the difficulties, the challenges, and then take it into the future so that we can envision what, is most important for us. And how, like, really get tangible about that future. Like, when I work with parents, for example, a lot of times they'll come to me in workshops when they have like 4-year-olds, little ones, 3-year-olds, and they'll be telling me about, the challenges that they're going through. And then we sort of envision what their childhoods were like. And we do that work, and they realize, like, sort of some of their values from that, like what they want to create for their children. And it really gives them a strong motivation to make changes within themselves that might be so difficult and hypothetical to make without that motivation of like really loving their children and wanting to be the best parent that they can be. And then we go into the future, and even a simple thing like, imagine what it's like when your children are going to be walking through the door for Christmas break and they've come home from college, and, the parents having 4 or 5-year-olds are like, blows their minds open. They're like what? I'm going to have a 20-year-old and a 23-year-old coming home, and, really seeing that relationship that they have with them then, and then bringing it back to the present moment where you can be present so much more fully with what you want to create as a parent in the future. So, because so often, like working with parents, like we end up as parents, like kind of tripping through our days, like one foot in front of the other, because there's so many demands on us and responsibilities and things that we want to accomplish. And so we can sometimes not see the forest for the trees. And this is a way of like getting you back into the forest, but also with the big vision of like whole forest and where you want to go. And so I got really inspired to take this model and bring it to just adults, like to start doing adult work. And the work that that I do with adults has been, like, I think, really great and really transformative. So I love the parent work and I love working with children. I do that also. I see them individually. And I also wanted to bring this other dimension in. And so your program, I was called to it for a number of reasons. One is that I just really wanted to get grounded. I wanted support with my steps. I wanted support on like the technical, like know-how to put things out there. You have like the PR background, you're really great at like just stepping into your power and marketing what you have. And that's a weakness of mine, honestly. And I'm a very, like, by nature, a very shy person, and I just need to step into that. That's something that I've worked with. So, but I also loved your energy of like really keeping it real, as you say. And it goes with my whole message of being authentic and, just trusting I think, one of the outcomes has been like that I trust my relationship with my people a lot more. And I trust that I've taken the time in your program to really get in touch with what I do that's great and that's unique. And I think I hadn't stopped to think about that before. And then I trust that when I put it out there, those people who are really meant to work with me and are ready to soak it up will come. And that's huge for me. That's like a different kind of confidence in meeting the world, meeting what's out there. So I think that, those are really like huge outcomes of, taking your program and like some of the things that drew me to working with you.
That's beautiful. I love just listening to the way you describe that and learning more about your backstory, what led you to this work. I didn't know about the finance software world that you were initially, and that's why I've said this in a few of these live speaker series episodes so far. Tip to all you business owners out there, coaches, consultants, guys, transformative teachers, you all the people in my community. Have these conversations with your clients. Get to know them better. You might think you know a lot about them, but then there's always something that they offer up. You go, I didn't know that about you. Or, oh, you hear the way they talk about your work. That's very, very illuminating for you. And it's also illuminating for them to have the opportunity to really think about what was that for me and how did this play a role in my life? It's so important for all of us to be able to do this because, as you said, Jennifer, it's very easy to kind of, parents do it, business owners do it, we all do it, humans do it. We can kind of trip through our days. We can trip through, this is what I'm doing. I've just got to get to this next meeting or to this next call. I got to make sure I get to the grocery store. And then it's, you get lost. You get lost in the minutia. You can get down on yourself because you can fall into the compare and despair trap because you look at so-and-so and what they're doing, or they just went on this vacation, or, oh my gosh, their child just got into this school and whatever. And we all need to be able to pull back and give ourselves this gift of really powerful conversations like we're having right now, powerful investment in ourselves, like what you've done for yourself, Jennifer, a number of times, going through program and then another program, and just really, what I heard from you as well is what we often do, where something is presented to us, it looks really awesome, we don't have time, and we're like, and also I wasn't planning for this financially. And so we go to this whole place of, I can't do it. I can't do it. How am I ever going to do this? I have enough going on. But I loved the way that you described that brochure, and it had this magnetic effect on you, and it kept kind of pulling you in, and you figured out a way to make that work. You stepped in and said, the universe will rise up to meet me because it just will. And I want everyone to take that in. The universe will always rise up to meet you. You all have been praying for something. You've been asking for something. You've been saying you're done with this thing, but you're ready to open up to another thing. It's being presented to you right now. It might be during this conversation. It might be some other thing that you're going to see later today or tomorrow. And it often comes masquerading as work. Or something we're going to need to invest time or money into. And then we put up our defenses and we say, I don't have time, or I don't know if the money is there, or this, whatever. But that's the universe providing for you, God, goddess, your higher power, whatever it is your belief system is about. It's being presented to you. And so then your job, and this is what we do as intuitive people, and certainly what Jennifer and I have committed to working with our intuition as, magic makers coaches, and Jennifer's on the path to become a magic maker certified coach, is to really work with that intuitive gift that we have to say, this is the thing. This is the thing. And I'm going to step forward into it. This is also something that we can do when we have these gifts, is that we help our clients access this. This is the greatest gift that we have. The greatest gift we have as parents. This is the greatest gifts we have as humans. Is the greatest gift we have as a coach, okay, as a guide. Is that we have access to this and our clients have access to this. Many people have forgotten. They get in their own way, they trip through life, and they dim it and they numb it. And so what we are here to do is to help activate that, to help us realize that those hits that we're getting, that brochure that was in Jennifer's house, that was like having a magnetic effect on her, was her intuition speaking to her through an opportunity. Okay. And so everyone right now, just know that your greatest gift is your intuitive sense. And what we can help you do is activate that. That's what Jennifer does in her work. That's what I do in my work. And that's how Jennifer and I really became connected, as she did join our program, Magic Makers Coach Certification, which I'll tell you more about in a bit. But this is really the opportunity. And I feel like we're in this place of massive reinvention as a planet. We're in this place of massive reinvention as a society. And we cannot rely on our logical minds alone. We cannot rely on technology alone. We cannot rely on these systems, many of which we're seeing have broken. We really need to come face to face and heart to heart, soul to soul with our intuition. So let's talk about, Jennifer, some of the work that you do. You talked about kind of some of the ways that you work with parents and kids and how you've created this career, but that whole piece of soul types that you work with, and really helping your people access their soul and knowing who they are. What are some, just some suggestions that you have, some quick tips that you can offer up where our listeners right now could play with something, an idea or a technique to help them remember who they are?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. And this particular model that I've been, just again, this was an intuitive thing. It was something that I learned about in the collaborative counseling training, and then just did a ton of research on over the past, whatever it's been, like 15 years since then. And it was like a calling. It was an intuitive thing. And so it is a fairly I don't like the word complex. Like it's an intricate model that, but I would say that what I love about it is that in this model, there are 7, basic types that we're looking at that all come together to form who we are. Everybody has all of them. Some people lean more towards others. We all have a couple that are our go-to places. But what I love about this model is that in order to do something that's hard for you, you're leveraging complementary soul capacities. You're not doing the opposite. You're not becoming an extrovert when you're an introvert. You're like really drawing on these complementary forces to get you into the mode that you want to be in. And so, when we work with this, we're working in the psychological realm, in the mental, emotional realm of the human being. The human being has many layers. But at the same time, we're bringing the higher self to bear on those parts of us. So I guess, the overarching message is that it's entirely possible to make huge transformation and to develop new capacities on that level of our being, to really, it's available, all of it is available to us. And so it comes from working really intentionally and with those will forces from the higher self into that psychological, mental, emotional space. That's not an answer to your question of a quick takeaway.
A lifelong journey, it sounds like. Just something that you realize. I mean, it's interesting when we talk about soul, because it's even to talk about the soul, you feel this activation going on. But then it's also funky because we're in these bodies. And so it's this kind of head trip experience where you're trying to make sense of something that you can't. That's how I feel about it. It's something that it's hard to even have words for it because it is so deep and profound. And it really is just
the idea of
the consciousness exactly
in these bodies, and sort of what are we doing in these bodies? It's another
right.
It's another lifetime that we're here for, and
Yes.
It's a little weird. I totally get that. I think that there are other layers, like the etheric layer, where you have your temperament, which is much less mutable. It's really, you see it in young children, children who are really strong-willed and outgoing, and children who are just a little bit slower and more methodical, or children who are kind of like the butterfly children. But then on top of it, it's we're such complex beings, really, we are. And I think that, it just fits in with that idea that we've come here to do something. And it's not that basic self transformation so that we can meet the world the way we're meant to meet the world and the way that it feels good to us. That transformation can be hard. It can be challenging, but it can also be so much fun and interesting. And honestly, the people who have been through my workshops, my programs with this, just end up having such a great time and seeing connections oh, that's why, this dynamic with my husband, and we're paired up like this, and our types, and, how can I step out of that sometimes into something new? And the sharing is really profound, and just the realizations of how powerful this is. This is also a model that works really well for psychologists, because, you're always when you have an encounter with someone, you're meeting the other, and what's that dynamic like, and how can you switch into something that's gonna move things more powerfully. So
that's really what it is. It's moving things, because that's so much I mean, obviously you have you talked about a very extensive background, professional background. You bring a lot with your tools. And then what I've wanted to do with our coach certification, working with women like you, working with people who, don't have that like counseling background, but they might come from the corporate space as a consultant. They might be a yoga teacher. They might be a business owner at a completely different capacity, but really having this place where I can teach you all what I know about this craft of intuitive coaching. And there's so many different tools that you can have within this particular toolkit. And then how to have a business doing this. I mean, all of it, the intuitive coaching, the having the business, the point is to do what you came here to do. And you just said it so beautifully. We've come here to do something. And so for those of you who know you've come here to help people and you want a way to do it and better than how you have been doing it, or you want a way that's like going to really shift you out completely from what you were doing before because you're done. It's like you're just completely done and you need the next chapter. You need the keys to the next chapter. Like this can absolutely activate that for you. But that was what you said, that it really helps people shift forward. Like that to me hits the nail on the head of what coaches do. We help people shift forward.
Definitely.
Shift.
That's why I love combining the coaching with the counseling. And I'm still looking for a name for that. If you brainstorm anything like a coach counselor, because I can't, I'm not the kind of person who can just stay spinning in that analysis kind of thing, because it's all about like how we're moving into the world and what we're doing here. I mean, I do come with a philosophical background, so I understand my perspective is like maybe more of that than most people. But, it's like, hey, we have a certain amount of time here. What are we here for? Like, do it.
What are we doing?
And figure out what that is. And don't waste time like doing it the way other people do it or doing it the way you think your family wants you to do it. Go for those intuition. Like my mode in my life is very much like I use my brain a lot and I push through a lot. And so sometimes I have to back up and just really check in with that, as you call it, that intuitive sense, that connection. Like for me, it's a connection to spirit. Like what am I really meant to do? Just pause, because it'll come through really clearly. And, then you can put the energy behind what you're doing and the intelligence behind what you're doing, but stop and connect first. Because like, I've got to say that story of like how I ended up like carrying the brochure around the house and going to the program. It was a 3-year program. It was like partly residential for like 3 weeks a year. I had a young child. I didn't have time and money, but I checked in and I knew it was absolutely the right thing. And there was one particular session, it was a 10-day session, residential, where my daughter was supposed to go to her dad's for the 10 days, but there was a family emergency. And she ended up in the dorm room with me, this young child, going to classes, playing outside on the swings. And then we had just gotten a new kitten because, I'm not someone who like says no to, that was another intuitive hit. Like, this is my cat. This is our cat.
Yeah.
And my neighbor who was taking care of him called the day after I left and said, you have to come get that kitten. He's got ear mites and fleas. And so I drove back down to Boston, picked up. So I had a kitten that was getting treated for all this stuff, a box of litter box, my daughter camping out in a sleeping bag on the floor. And I went to every class and I was, so I guess my point is that if it hadn't been the right thing for me, it would have been crazy.
Right.
Knowing
you would have quit. You would have been like, I'm not doing this. But that's where we really need to like trust ourselves and know that sometimes it is going to look hard and sometimes it looks like ridiculous on paper. Like this can't work. This is silly. Okay. But some of the best things are super silly. And where you just say, this is what I need to do. And we all have to look at too, like there's certain things that come in and they're not going to come in again. Like this is it. And I think this is important that we talk about. I've been offering and leading programs for years and years and years and years. And there's this almost assumption sometimes in the market. They're like, oh, they'll offer it again. I'll do it the next time. But guess what? There's not always a next time. There's not. And I remember I had the same thing. I went to India 4 years ago. And it was the same thing. It was like a 2-week trip. I had young kids, business, a home to take care of, the whole thing. And I had to give myself permission. I'm going to go on this trip. It was an Ayurveda, deep dive into the wonderful science of Ayurveda. I mean, it was just amazing. But I remember just thinking, can I do this? Like, do I have time for this? It was a significant investment. And then the guilt of being away from my family for 2 weeks. And guess what? That trip was never offered again. It was the one time it was ever offered through Kapalu. And if I would have said, oh, I'll do it next year, it was never offered before. It's never been offered again. It was like this unique thing.
You came home and your family was fine, right?
Oh, they were fine. They were fine. It was the same thing. It was it. It was like so it. And so y'all stop thinking that you're going to do it next time. There's been another time. If you really want to do something now, but it looks dicey, you will always figure a way. Like the seas part and time opens up for you. But if you always get in your own way, I don't have enough time, oh, the money, you're just looking for all the obstacles, then you're more committed to the excuses. You're more committed to the obstacles than you are to the opportunity. And that's where you have to check in with yourself and ask yourself, how bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? Jennifer, what would you say to someone? Go ahead.
Oh, just in terms of this program, like this year was like a terrible year personally for me. And I had so many huge things that I had to deal with. And it wasn't the time to be super focused on Magic Maker's coach certification. But again, I felt like it was really the right thing to do. And in a way, I had to like expose myself because I wasn't at my best during the program, but I got so much out of it and I did it and it was the right thing. And I would say, like, don't do it out of a fear of missing out. Like, do it out of an intuitive sense, like check in with yourself. And if it's the right thing to do, just find a way to do it, because those things, they do call us forward and be like, there's a path of being more sensitive to that, of like what the universe is really telling you specifically to do, because your thing is your thing and it's not somebody else's. It doesn't matter what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That's just so on point. And I want everyone to know too. And Jennifer, I didn't ever sense that you weren't at your best. And I think as women, sometimes we put so much pressure on ourselves that we, if we can't be at our best, if we don't have like completely open calendars. I've had so many clients apologize. Like, I'm so sorry. I was moving. I was blah, blah. I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. I felt you. And that's something I really want to celebrate about how we design this particular program, is we really are there with you in this container. We exchange energy. I mean, that's a lot of what we teach within Magic Maker's coach certification. And so we really create a powerful container to be there together and walk you through this journey.
Well, and also something that I so appreciate about you, and the reason I was drawn to work with you, is that you are so authentically positive. Like positive, I don't mean like Pollyanna positive, right, but just that you're like, you really cheer your people on, and you really, you bring that like, positive, heartfelt perspective to what you do. So it's not like, I'm really sensitive to what people are putting out there. And sometimes like people are putting out like a positive face and you scratch beneath the surface and they're like defensive or a little critical, but you got it. Like, I've got to say, you just have it all the way through. And I feel like that really leads to trust. And going through a program like this where, people can open up and people can say, hey, I'm having a problem with this aspect of my business, or my personal life is affecting my business like this, or I'm just feeling like blah today, or just being real. And I just really appreciate that. And I want to thank you for bringing that to this to this time together and to the program, and being trustworthy in that way.
My pleasure. Well, thank you for that reflection. Jennifer, where can people find out more about you and your work?
So yeah, I have you'd be proud of me. I'm 80% of the way through using Paperbell and doing I have a shop front now, but I just need to connect it with my website.
Okay.
So I am doing 2 free talks this fall, one on authentic parenting and one on soul types alchemy. And then I'll be beginning programs in both of them starting in January. So November, December, you're really warmly invited to the talks. And the best way to connect with me for that. And also, I do one-on-one coaching and counseling. So I've opened my practice to 4 more spots for that for the next couple months. So really the best thing to do right now is email me, and then I can send you a link to my shop on Paperbell, and you can sign
cool. And you're on social too. You're here on Facebook. And okay, so what's the best email for you?
And, but it's for me, kickstarting all this stuff, that's one of the reasons I came to you, honestly.
You're doing it. Yeah. And Paperbell is one of the bonuses we offer to our clients. You get 6 months free. It's like the Shopify for online coaching. What's the best email for you, Jennifer?
The best email for me is soultypesalchemy@gmail.com.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Yeah. So y'all hook up with her. And I know you're going to be out here on the socials sharing once those things are ready, because those sound like awesome classes for sure. Oh my gosh, Jennifer, thank you so much for being here. Everyone else, heads up, we are enrolling for our final live class of Magic Makers Coach certification. This is the last time I will be personally taking people through this process to honor the craft and the business of intuitive coaching, specifically creating an online business like Jennifer's doing, these online classes, being able to have programs. This stuff is something I've been teaching for years and years and years. It has been amazing. And I am at that shift in my career journey where this will be the final time that I'm going to take a live classroom. We're going to have an incredible, incredible experience. magicmakerscoach.com. Go check out our application. We also offer partial scholarships. You can see how you can apply. We're really, really dedicated to helping you do what you came here to do. Jennifer, congratulations for everything that you've been doing. It's been a pleasure having you in our program, and you're just going to keep rocking it. I have no doubt. I have no doubt. And thank you everyone for tuning in today for our live speaker session here of Coach Magic. You've been hanging out with me, Jenny Fenig, and Jennifer Goodman, and we wish you all the best as you be who you are. Do it. Bye everyone. Be well.